I am joined by Gavin Foley, the Global Head of Recruitment Marketing from Rentokil Initial, and with Sam Davies, the CEO of Relinks, and we're talking about referral programs done right today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, Baz. Good to be here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Gavin, let's start. Rentokil Initial. I think everybody will probably seen the name somewhere, but could you talk a bit about the size of the company and the size of your recruitment challenges?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Rentokil Initial is the world's leading commercial pest control, hygiene, plants and scenting service provider. In terms of size, we operate in 90 countries around the world. We have probably 65,000, maybe more now, colleagues. In terms of recruitment, we're a devolved business, so each country has like an MD, its own HR team, recruitment team, etc. Recruiters on the ground, but we hire thousands of people annually. Majority of the roles are frontline colleagues, but and sort of route-based services. But we do have quite a large hiring need in sort of standard business ops as well.
All right, really cool. So we're talking about your referral program, and you told me in advance that you're doing one program over 90 countries. How does that work? How much is done centrally? How much is done in the countries? Explain this to me.
Yeah, it's a big program. So we've coined it Careers Plus. So obviously Sam provides it with real links, but so internally and externally we call it Career Plus. Um, Essentially, it's our internal careers platform. So colleagues around the world can apply for jobs internally, and then obviously we use it as a sort of external referral tool and advocacy program as well. But it's really successful. So just last year in 2025, so we hired 600 colleagues globally internally, and probably just over 1,200 externally. And really, the success is all built on giving the countries the local freedom to kind of use the platform and do what they want. So if you'd imagine, I give them the structure. For example, countries use different sort of tags on their ATS system, put jobs on. Everyone follows the same sort of job structure, job department categories, etc. They feed through to the ATS, and I give them the freedom to run their own campaigns, their own email programs. But essentially, I own it at a global level for governance, really.
All right. Sam, you of course see lots of different companies. Is this a normal situation to have such a massive global footprint with a referral program, or are they usually done more nationally?
Yeah, I would say that this is becoming more and more common as an approach. So, and just to sort of build on what Gavin was saying there, when he's talking about his sort of global structure, one of the processes that Gavin went through was like to apply relevancy logic to how he built everything. And what I mean by that is matching jobs on a global level to employees. So if it's a job in the department of an individual and in their location, let's make sure that we're surfacing that job for them. So on a central basis, Gavin is actually sending out like automated engagement comms globally across all of his countries. But although they're receiving the same text in those comms, the jobs that are included for them to share with their networks are all different based on that relevancy logic. So that's sort of how he, from a sort of like comms marketing standpoint, that's how he's reaching everybody, but making sure that what they're seeing from a job standpoint is relevant for them. And a lot of the global sort of companies that we work with take a similar approach. They have a sort of global team that's making sure that employees everywhere in the world are receiving these relevant jobs or relevant pieces of content where you're using it for advocacy as well. And often they'll do exactly what Gavin's also done, which is have a sort of global reward gamification competition. And I don't know, Gavin, you've got quite a cool structure there. I don't know if you wanted to sort of explain it quickly to Baz, because I think it's a really neat way of making it work on a global level. And then I'll come back, Baz, to answer your question about how other countries are varying it.
Yeah. So when we first initially started this sort of program and this idea of rewarding people for sharing jobs, we quite quickly found that we don't have budget to reward people with tablets, phones, TVs, like some mega expensive rewards. So what we do now, we actually award people tokens in the system. So you'll get 5 tokens for sharing a job. You'll get some tokens if people click it, if they view it. You get more tokens if they apply. Get more if they interview, and then you get quite a significant amount of tokens if we go on to make the hire. and that's how I can control the quality of a candidate versus people just spamming in the internet with their links, right? Because they're going to be rewarded the more successful the candidate is. That rolls up into a quarterly sort of prize draw globally. So for every 300 tokens that you as Baz would earn, you would get one raffle ticket into my 3-monthly prize draw. And then the prize, because some countries can not accept cash, we do it as a sort of voucher process. So it's up to £350, for example. But we've had colleagues in the US that have gone and got a TV or an Apple Watch or something really cool. And then we've got colleagues in, say, Indonesia, in the middle of nowhere. They've actually got a fridge freezer for their house because they didn't have one. And just that variable alone gives everyone the opportunity around the world to get involved at their own local level.
All right, and now I'm getting straight into the nitty gritty because I love those things. Is the prize money or the raffles, are they also a bit localized, or is that completely global? And is the prize money localized, or?
Yeah, so it's based on the so say it was 350 British pounds. If someone in Thailand won, it would be the localized currency at whatever that exchange rate was. And the idea is that they would work with their local HR team, go and purchase it, cross charge the cost back to my cost line, and we'd obviously make the payment across to the country that won essentially. But what I like about it is the process especially with Sam's platform is automated. The end of the quarter. I can see a report. I can see how many entries we had. So in the latest one, just for the first 3 months of this year, we had 900 entries into our raffle. So if you work backwards, 900 lots of 300 tokens is a significant volume, shares, hires, applications, etc. And then we only had one winner. So even though we had all that effort, that's only cost me £350 in a prize.
Okay, yeah, and it's the same amount of money all over the world, which of course is worth a lot more in Indonesia and Thailand than it is in the US or the UK.
It is, yeah.
And it's still a decent amount in the US and the UK, but I can imagine that in Indonesia people will try a lot harder even.
And that's what we found at the beginning, before we come up with this structure, was that the Asian countries specifically, because they wanted the prizes because they were more valuable in their countries, the share volume of jobs, etc., was significantly higher than it was, say, in the UK. So we had to kind of come up with a centralized approach. The other thing I would mention is through the platform, we have the opportunity to put a reward amount on a job. So as long as you're not in the recruitment process, in America, for example, some roles have $500, $1,000 on a hard to fill role. And if a colleague is successfully hired and get through 3 or 6 month probation, that colleague who made the referral will also get that money in their following salary. So that's on top of the prize draw as well. And although my prize draw, I would say, is a global prize draw, we give countries the freedom to run their own localized draws should they want to as well.
That's really cool. Sam, back to you. Is this the normal way of doing things?
Yeah. So yeah, sorry, I thought it'd just be helpful to get the picture there. So that is becoming more normal. So I would say that like most global companies that we work with will have a globalized engagement comms based on that relevancy logic that I spoke about, and then usually have some sort of quarterly competition. But there are a few variations that I think are worth mentioning when I look across the global organizations we work with. The first one being that although Rentokil actually treat that value amount as the same, irrespective of like what country it is, a number of other organizations do vary that. So the value of like the gamification prizes, or if you're using sort of our global reward shop, the value will be adjusted depending on cost of living within different countries around the world. So for some clients that we work with, you'll get less maybe in certain parts of Asia than you would do in certain parts of Europe, for example. So that would be one like slight difference, I suppose, that you can adjust rewards based on sort of cost of living in an area. The other thing which Gavin is absolutely doing, and he touched on before, is as well as having this sort of global engagement program gamification, this really starts to fly in the way Gavin explained when you empower the leads in the different countries to also run their own referral campaigns. So for example, some countries have quite distinct referral cultures. So in India, for example, you see lots of really strong engagement with referrals. Like so many people will do it, they'll participate. Whereas in parts of Europe, like specific countries, the referral culture isn't great and they just aren't participating in the first place. So you've got different challenges. Whereas somewhere like in India, for example, the challenge is, okay, we've got good engagement, but how do we ensure quality? In other countries, we don't have good engagement as a starting point. So how does that impact the approach that's taken? Well, when Gavin sort of empowers his regional and country leads to run their own referral campaigns, they'll be adjusting the gamification logic potentially when they run their own campaigns. For example, Gavin spoke about his global program, like rewarding the full referral funnel, shares, views, applications, interviews, hires, for example. But in certain countries, you probably would only reward interviews and hires because you've already got good engagement. It's just about getting them to focus on quality. And you might adjust the comms. One of the other things around this is where the focus is really on quality as opposed to engagement. We make a distinction between a social introduction, i.e., like I've just posted something on LinkedIn, somebody I don't really know applies for that job via recommendation, maybe somebody I worked with previously that I can vouch for applying for that job. Those things mean quite different things. And making a distinction between them is really important because in certain countries, the focus will be much more on like, we're looking for recommendations, we're looking for really like high quality referrals. Whereas in other countries, it's like, we just want to increase our volume. So those are the sorts of ideas and sorts of differences that you'll see play out. But in answer to your question, I suppose overall, it's very common to have an overall global structure, but then giving the leads in the different countries the freedom to run campaigns that account for those different referral cultures. One final point I wanted to make on this is it will also depend a little bit about the brand presence in the country in question. So you could have a global company like Rentokil that has a really great global presence, but maybe more so in certain countries than others. And where it's a country, maybe where the brand presence isn't as strong, in those scenarios, that's where like the advocacy aspect of the platform really comes into play as well, because you'll be looking to like combine content with jobs. Because if you just share a job, they'll be like, but who is this company? I don't really know them. Like, I'm not ready to apply for them. So the importance of content with jobs becomes more prevalent, I guess.
All right. Gavin, I heard your referral program actually evolved and you're now also doing employer brand advocacy, but also internal mobility. Can you explain a bit on that?
So yeah, the external brand advocacy piece, it's just come about, they're sharing jobs, so they can share content, right? So it's having it all in the same place at the same time. It just makes it easier and quicker to do for the colleague. The internal mobility piece is a different one, but essentially we had no platform for the internal postings for our jobs. By having them both in the same place, while someone is applying for an internal job, they have the ability to share an external job in the same place. And we just felt it was a better place and it's more seamless experience for the colleagues that work for us to do the same in the same place.
All right, so you're actually using the referral platform also to share internal jobs, basically, maybe even internal referrals? Is that it?
Yeah. So a colleague can apply for an internal role, and the benefit of the system is that when you set them up on your ATS of choice, you can actually tag whether it's an internal or an external job. So the internal jobs are actually tagged and displayed as internal only jobs, so colleagues can visibly see the jobs that are available to them versus the ones that can be shared externally. And yeah, this already this year. So we've already had 1,500 applications internally in Q1 this year, just from people either wanting a sideways move or a move that might seem like a promotion to them.
That's really, really good. Now that we're talking numbers, can you share some more numbers? You already shared a lot through them, but what percentage of hires are referrals now? Okay, you got any numbers on those?
Yeah, so last year's a referral platform. So globally, we were just about peaking at about 30% of total volume at referrals, which was like off the scales. This year already in Q1, so we've had, and this is crazy in itself, 18,000 jobs have been shared in 3 months. Okay. We've had over 75,000 job views. People have clicked through to job views. I've had 2,500 applications and already made over 180 hires in 3 months just from using real links. What I would say is through Sam's platform and through knowing the cost per click through my marketing team, we valued at a cost per click roughly on LinkedIn in the UK at the moment at around £3.20. But I have an earned media value of over £200,000 in free advocacy because I'm using a referral platform like this.
Wow, that's just really, really impressive. Sam, final word to you. What is the one tip you will give our listeners if they want to implement a great global referral strategy, employee brand strategy?
I'm going to make it 3. Sorry, Baz, but I'll keep it quick. I think there are 3 pillars that I always think about. You have to meet employees where they are. So is that Slack, is that Teams, is that email, or is that mobile? Very quick point on Rentokil. So they have, as you can imagine, a lot of frontline workers, but everybody has a work phone. So we have a fully branded mobile app that was added in the managed app store of every single employee. So on their work device, everybody has it there and then. But that just goes to my point. You have to meet employees where they are. You have to be on mobile if it's frontline workers, has to be Slack, Teams, email. And you have to let them participate on those channels. We've all got system fatigue. If we ask them to go somewhere else outside of the flow of what they're doing on a daily basis, engagement will die. That's my first point. My second point, as we've already touched on, most referral programs are failing because they're still going with the traditional method of rewarding people based on success after the hire happens. If you move to rewarding the referral journey, shares, views, applications, interviews, and hires, it will really make such a difference. But most people are doing it the old-fashioned way. And the final point I will make is you do those 2 initial things, your engagement's going to go up. Also remember the quality side of it. So think about how you can ensure quality while also improving engagement. And there are different ways that we do that. One is the distinction between recommendations, introductions that I've already spoken about. Another is LinkedIn matching, but also our AI functionality as well. But yeah, those would be my 3 sort of takeaways.
All right, gentlemen, I've learned a lot. Thank you so much.